Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the City Council of the University of City, Texas. It is Wednesday, November 23rd. It's now 6:30 p.m. and I'll call this meeting to order and call for a quorum check, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Goldsby.
Here.
Councilmember Buck.
We'll discuss in a moment.
Councilmember Bowman.
Here.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Councilmember Nakarian.
Here.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Here. Quorum is present. We shall discuss one of the individuals. Are we on? Are we on live on the microphone?
I can hear ours, but I don't hear his.
Okay, let me turn this up. Could you guys hear me in the back all right? Okay, all right. We're live streaming now, and that's why you saw the little intro. That's how it'll be for most of our meetings, so we get an introduction before the council meeting actually begins. So if everybody, can you hear everyone else on a voice check as well? Okay. Even though it might not turn on, mine does not turn on. I promise. Oh, there it goes. Okay, now we're on.
Hey, there you go.
We're ready and we're rolling. All right, so first item this evening is certainly to excuse the absence of one of our members. Councilmember Buck is on the beach in Belize. Okay, that's about all I can tell you. He's got a deserved vacation. So he and his bride are having a great time down there. So Buck on the beach in Belize, that's the only way I can describe it. We do need to have approval to give him permission to be there.
I will definitely give him permission and say aye to that.
All right. Second motion and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Goldsby. So any other discussion? All right, call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Nakarian.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goldsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Aye. Okay, the motion passes. The invocation this evening will be given by Councilmember Vaughn. Lead us in the pledges afterwards, so everyone please stand.
Dear God, thank you for this gift of life and the free will to pursue it to the fullest. Guide us to act with character, restraint, and a servant's heart. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
So many words.
You may have noticed that there are a couple of other guests right in front of us this evening as well. Last Monday, this past Monday, they had a very nice opportunity for kids to come in here and walk around City Hall. All the hallways were decorated specifically in Halloween. And up here, this is what the kids saw when they came in here. So if you were wondering what that was, that's what it is. And each one of the council members, myself, I had the opportunity to decorate our own skeleton. So, we're all responsible for that, whatever ones you see, that they're ours, okay? All right. And there's also a slight change you can see on the agenda. A lot of you that have attended meetings in the past, we have revised the agenda schedule a little bit. We learned some things and got some suggestions from the latest Texas Municipal League annual meeting. And I think we're going to give it a try and see how it works. It should help streamline the process. So let's give it a try tonight and we'll go from there. So the first thing we have actually are our announcements. And you can see that if you see the respect items not listed on the agenda, members may report on items. And this is where council will interact. Members may also request specific information or recitation of existing policy from staff or request placement of items on the agenda. So we'll start out right now with an announcement by our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 4 events I'd like to bring to your attention. One, Tuesday is our volunteer appreciation event at the golf course. Starts at 5:30, and we look forward to seeing all of you there. After that, obviously, we start worrying about everything snow, Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. So December 2nd is Snow Day at the library. That is a family event. We hope that everyone can join us there. And then Tuesday, December 5th is the Christmas tree lighting. I know that some of you have items planned, but we'll work with you on that. And then lastly, I want you to let you know that on December 8th, which is a Friday, we have our neon golf, which is nighttime golf at the golf course. And that is open for anyone in the community to join on that particular day. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. The other next item is mine. And I would like to introduce the person that handles our Parks Partners Group to make a special announcement and a couple of presentations. So Ms. Lori Putt, would you please come up, ma'am?
Thank you, Mayor, Council, City Manager. My name is Lori Putt. I live at 114 Foxglove. I know no one's heard about the pumpkin patch, but I'm here on behalf of, we sponsor it. We are the hosts of the pumpkin patch, but it's run by the community. It is handled by the community, but it all settles down on Ollie Schaefer's head. Ollie is our manager, boss, taskmaster, and she keeps us straight for 30 days. So I'm going to turn this over to Ollie and give you an update on actually what happened this month. And I promise we'll keep it short because we know it's a busy night.
Thank you. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Real quick, because I don't want to stand here very long. I want to thank everybody, all of you, either you or your families came out and participated in the pumpkin patch. We really appreciate it. We're really encouraged when our elected officials serve in other capacities, and it's really encouraging to my kids, my family, and everybody at the patch. So we thank you all for coming and participating or sending your families to come. We also thank the city and the staff for their support of the patch, because we couldn't do it without you. I'm excited to share all of our statistics for this year. Really briefly, I want to say that Parks Partners operates the pumpkin patch, and we have 25 different nonprofit groups that work it. Each day, those groups that work receive the funds from their sales, a portion of their sales, as a compensation for their work. And let me tell you, those groups earn every penny. They move hay, they move pumpkins, they move pallets, they take photos, they greet people, they carry pumpkins to people's cars, and they earn every penny. This year, we had awarded more than 420 community service hours to students from the local schools, and we awarded that and more probably to our volunteers and our residents and the local businesses that come out and help that we don't track. We could not do this without our volunteers. We had 6 groups come out and help us set up the patch, which took a lot of the work off of us, because usually it's 5 or 6 of us and we spend hours and hours setting up. And so we spent 2 days and set up almost everything with groups, and it was great. We had 2 incredibly busy Saturdays. The first one was the eclipse, and it was elbow to elbow out there when the Ring of Fire came. And when it started, the whole patch clapped and cheered. And the next day, the ladies at Acapulco told me that they could hear us cheering in their parking lot. So that was pretty cool. We had, I don't even know, several thousand people out there. You could not move around during the actual eclipse. The other day was our trunk or treat, which we usually expect maybe 1,000. And we looked at the event on Facebook and we thought, oh, we better plan for 2,000. And we had 2,800 kids come, or people go through the line. And that doesn't include the people that were out there that didn't go through the line. It took an hour longer than we had planned. We weren't expecting it, but it was a great turnout. And because of that, the group that night blew their sails out of the water. So it was a great night. But the best part, in my opinion, is the funds that we get to spread through all the groups. And this year we spread $49,151 to the 25 groups. And so we have a few of them here tonight, and we just want to give them their checks real quick without taking too much time. So we'll just call them up? Sure. Okay. Well, first I have is Friends of the Library. I think we have Kathy Tolbert, who's the president of Friends of the Library here, and they had 3 mornings for story time. And they would come out and read a story, and they got rained out one day. And then one day was the first Saturday was flood, but the second Saturday we stopped counting at like 225 kids, families out. Yeah, parents and kids out and babies out for story time. So your check is $758. Terry from Homes for Homeless? Anybody else from Homes? Terry volunteered on the homestay, but she's also one of our core volunteers that helps run the patch and set it up. And she's a hard worker, and we really appreciate Terry out there. So here's a check for $517 for Homes for the Homeless. UCCCPA Bill and I guess Jody's not here. So they work for parking every weekend. They come out and park everybody for a couple of hours and we donate money to them. And so they earn $500 for that, plus their day in the patch, they earn $1,365.
Justin?
Fire had their Heroes Day and they earned $1,590. Pugs. Christina Fitzpatrick runs the Pugs Rescue of Austin. And so they came out, but I don't know what the amount is. They should have ran it on here, so.
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
They had a really busy Sunday. $2,271.
Wow.
Comes on every Thursday, and they bring in the hardest working group of kids. And they work, and they got rained out this year a couple days, but they got $619.
Hey,
Worked 3 ships on setting up.
That's right, they did,
So they got
they
paid
sent
for
4
that.
groups out to work hard on our setup, we sent groups, and they got a donation from us for that. That's not included in that number. And the last group is our record group this year, the Spicy Ketchup, who's coming up for that.
Hey.
all of you, come on up.
Like a 12 or 14 hour day at the patch that day, because trunk or treat lasted so long. But because of that, they get $3,116.
All in the world.
That's right, they're going to the world. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your support. We appreciate it.
What an absolutely successful event that has just blossomed over the years. And I want to personally thank members of the council that participated in it too, because coming in and out and just being there while it's going on makes a lot of difference to a lot of people. And I thoroughly enjoyed the times that I was out there. I saw Paul many times in the parking lot with Bill, getting the traffic direction, and it was really awesome. Okay.
Real quick say, in March, we're having our first bingo, so we're still raising money for you, Randy.
Okay, very good. Okay. Just a couple other quick announcements by me. One is obviously the election yesterday, the votes, I think all the propositions except one in the San Antonio area passed in the county. So have all of you received your potential tax statement from the county yet? Pretty amazing, isn't it? Because they already included that $100,000 exemption, homestead exemption on the school district. So pretty dramatic change for everybody, and it's all positive. So that's really, really good. So I think that's it for me. So let me turn to Mr. Vaughn. Do you have something?
I was just gonna say that on the new agenda format, I like that the citizens get to speak before the consent agenda. And just shout out to Brandon from Public Works for driving the float on Saturday and not having any injuries. So.
Yeah, we also,
Pass that on.
some
Thank you,
folks,
sir.
we survived. Okay, Christina?
I was just going to say, it was an honor to participate in the Veterans Parade and kind of recognize so many people in our community that have served. And the patch was a great experience. It was so nice seeing the community come out and interact and have so much fun, and new people coming and people that have come back and made it part of their family traditions. It's really an honor to be a part of it. And then also, we are talking about, one of the things that we do out there is community coffee on Thursdays. And one of the things that we're trying to do is figure out a way where we can continue that maybe through the winter months, where we can get together and have coffee together and kind of visit for a while on a Thursday. So more information to follow on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I really enjoyed the pumpkin patch. A lot of people showed up. One thing that does get on me, that they're putting up the Christmas tree already. And it hasn't been Thanksgiving. But the biggest thing is they're ruining the lines that I spent lots of time painting. But anyway, so goes that. And also, I just want to bring up, I do like the flow of this new format. The only thing that I could see that I would change, and I believe Mr. Vaughn brought it up, is I would like to see the city managers, all the announcements, mayors and council members' announcements after citizens to be heard. Because I believe a lot of times when we have citizens to be heard, we give our comments at the end, and sometimes those citizens that were here are not here to see that or to hear that we have responded to something that they have brought up. And this way would give us an opportunity to do that right after. So I personally think that would flow better. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Again, this is a work in progress. We're all taking a look at it.
Yeah, I second Nigerian's thoughts on that too, just switching that small thing. But I do like the new one and I like the way it is. I also enjoy the pumpkin patch and we had a lot of fun doing trunk or treat, but we also had a ton of fun doing City Hall. I thought that was hands down one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I can't believe the amount of time and effort that went into those hallways, like absolutely phenomenal. You could tell that everyone had so much fun doing it. And I just thought that was really cool, like good office camaraderie, and the kids all loved it. And I liked that it wasn't scary. Like, I think there was something really special about that like you had tiny kids who got to actually enjoy it and it wasn't scary or spooky, but it was really, really cool. So like I said, I'm pretty sure this was our first year doing it. I hope it continues because I had fun passing out candy and it was really cool to see just all these little kids just bounce through it and come back and then say how awesome it was. And I just thought that was really cool. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great job on the pumpkin patch. Y'all rock every year, and every year y'all just outdo yourselves from the previous year. So y'all are just awesome. I'm gonna just piggyback on that. That was the coolest thing from a guy who loves Halloween, if you can't tell. I just loved what y'all did, and it was exactly as she stated. It wasn't too scary for the littles, and it wasn't even for those of us that are bigger and aren't going to get scared of anything. It was really cool, and I enjoyed every bit of that hallway. So great job. Please do it again next year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Again, I think this is one of the reasons why we moved this up here. It gives, especially you in the audience, gets you a chance to hear what council has to say and the city manager has to say, because normally that was at the very end of our meetings, which sometimes we have, the audience has had to leave for whatever reasons. So this gives you a chance to hear from us right up front so that you don't miss anything that's going on, even though we're live streaming. Okay, so let's move on now to our next item, which is citizens to be heard. You can see it's provided for citizens to address council on issues or concerns, informative. No discussion or action is going to be taken at this time, but we do welcome everybody's comments. So one individual has signed up this evening, and that is Mr. Bernie Rubo.
Timer, Mr. Mayor, so hopefully there'll be improvement there too.
We put it on the screen for you too, sir.
Mr. Mayor, honorable council members, city staff, just a quick comment on the PUD discussions that are coming up. As you know, I've been a regular attendee at city council meetings, and generally what we see is that there's a first presentation of PUD and a look of the PUD project, and things look great. They're tweaked. There's a second presentation, and things kind of get modified, not quite as expected. And then there's often another presentation where it's even lesser, a lesser value than the very first value. I just let council know that I can appreciate seeing that trend fairly consistently. And also with regard to the particular PUD that's going to be discussed, I noticed that there's a land for sale sign there, and I'm hoping that doesn't interfere with the projected development that was supposed to be there the council was so enthusiastic about. And I didn't start the timer. Okay. I'm going to come to just one other item tonight. And again, I'll state a statement from the city manager. Operationally, over the last 4 years, the golf course has been able to sustain itself. And last time at City Council, I presented essentially the budgets for the audits for those 4 years, which shows that doesn't appear to be true. I'm trying to seek some clarification on that. And then, and I also thank the city, particularly Kim, for getting the budget online. It's easy to see. That being said, I printed you off a couple of pages here that have to do with golf course. And essentially, when you look at what the council has approved, if you take away the venue tax, the hotel tax, and however the billboard $80,000 fee got into the golf course, I still don't understand that. But in any case, that's $1.3 million, which means just in looking at the summary of expenses and revenue, the city is actually paying for 31% of golf course expenses through taxes and these sundry funds. The kicker is that doesn't include salaries. So, and the other things that are going on, including the $1.123 million in golf course repair of hole number 8 and 9 type thing. So basically, I'm just confounded by this statement, and I've sought clarification, and I'm seeking clarification from the mayor and council. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rubel. Okay, as my custom is I would offer anyone else to speak to council that hasn't had a chance, didn't sign up this evening. If not, we'll go ahead and conclude our citizens to be heard section. Move on now to what is now called staff reports and other discussion items. You can read it. Not expected to require action or generally informative. However, any item in this section can be acted on without further notice or with consent of the mayor after the request of any council members. So let me turn it over to our city manager. She'll give us her report.
Thank you. The first item obviously is the cover sheets and the agenda, and you've spoken to that. Our process as a staff is try to reduce the amount of stuff that you need to read. So that's why we're doing a little more comprehensive cover sheet, and then also to reduce the amount of time that you have to have discussion within the city council meeting. So we'll play with it for a while until we get just the right formula, and then we'll see how that works. As you know, we did end up having to cancel one council meeting because we were having nighttime court. That was through part of our warrant reduction campaign, which was very successful for our first time. We had 178 people who responded to our program. 28 of them paid their warrants off in full. 150 of them were set up on payment plans where they can pay, they signed a contract, they pay $100 a month for their warrant. And in doing so, we lifted the hold that is on all of their driver's license, so they can go ahead and renew their driver's license and get the insurance up to date and carry on with their lives. And so it was very successful, so we will be doing that again in the future. And then I mentioned the City Hall re-roof. Obviously, it's started. You'll probably have seen some waste management bins out there. They're really going to start on the big work tomorrow, but it's supposed to rain, so fingers crossed. But our goal is to have it done the weekend before we do the Christmas tree lighting so that we can get everything cleaned up. And then during our budget process, if you remember, we had put approximately, I think it was $550,000 of the venue tax in the golf course, and it was for two projects, golf course flooring and the golf course parking lot. So we've worked with the interior designer to figure out the materials that are needed for the flooring and then for the men's restroom, which includes flooring, plumbing, painting, and new fixtures and some additional lighting. That is the estimate that we have right now is $225,000. That doesn't include an 18% contingency fee. The reason it's at an 18% is because once we rip the carpet up, not on the concrete side, but on the side where they have the plyboard, we do not know the condition of the plyboard. So we bumped up the contingency in case we needed to cover some of that. So if council is amenable, we're ready to go out with our formal RFP so we can get our 3 written bids. I just need a consensus from you to move forward.
I think you got all kinds of consensus on that.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Anything else like by council related to these items that was presented by the city manager? All right, good. Let's move on. Next item we have is our consent agenda. And as you can see, all matters listed on this item are considered to be routine by council and enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items, and if discussion is desired, that item can be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Before you find one that was a clarification on the minutes, and it was directly related to one of the sections that we had, and you all have a copy of that. So if anybody wants to approve the consent agenda with that one change in the minutes.
Move to approve with corrections.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Najarian,
Second.
second by Councilmember Fitzpatrick. Any discussion further, anybody? All right, call for the vote then.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman.
Aye.
Councilmember Bond.
Aye.
That motion passes. We'll move on now to our action items for today. We're going to go into an executive session in a minute here. And hopefully that'll be very quickly. But we do need to do this. So just be patient with us. Pursuant to Texas Government Code 551-711 regarding consultation with attorneys to seek legal advice in connection with pending litigation, clause number 2021 C18486, Robert Stout et al. Versus City of Universal City. And then we'll reconvene after that. So let's go into our session now. It is now 6:55. We'll be back as quick as we can, everyone. Thank you.
This is a very unusual product that the City of Universal City has brought on board. This is a material that is mined out of a quarry in Uvalde County, Texas, and has been since 1896. This is a very unusual material. It's a natural occurring asphalt that is, as I said, is brought out from underneath the ground. We're looking forward to showing the City of Universal City how well this material will work for them and make easy pothole repairs for now and in the future. One of the things important, how we screen this material, you'll notice all the fines and everything in this material. It's very important that we bring it about 1.5 inches above the grade, about 1 inch outside of the pothole. When this becomes hard and cures totally, you could keep water from ever entering this pothole. Once again, adds into the durability and the longevity of the repair. This is nothing for a repair like this, like we see, to make it 3 to 5 years plus, easy. So very easy to do. That's it.
Good afternoon, I'm Officer Parra with University Police Department. We're here today at the Heroes Pumpkin Patch. Right behind me I got the BAT. It's our ballistic armored troop transport. We use it for our SWAT team, part of the Alamo Area Regional SWAT team. The front captain cabin, we got passenger seat, front seat, and then all the way back is where we all line up. Everything's armored, backup camera, lights, you name it, it's got it just like a police car.
ITV. Hi. For all of y'all at Olympia, have a great day today. Come to the pumpkin patch.
Okay, everyone, it is 7:14, reconvene from executive session. Okay, you take action if needed on any item pertaining to or listed in the executive session agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we give the city manager the authority for settlement and release agreement in connection with pending litigation cause number 2021C I 8486 Robert Stout et al. Versus City of Universal City.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Najarian. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Bowman. Any discussion further, anyone? Are we good? We're good. Okay, very good. Okay, call for the vote then, please.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you very much for your help, sir. Appreciate it. You betcha. Okay, move on now to tab number B, which is ordinance number 581-Y-PUD-2023-107. It's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Universal City, Texas, amending ordinance 581-Y-PUD-2023-103, amending the zoning map of the City of Universal City, Texas, for an approximately 29.5 acre property located at the southeast corner of East Loop 1604 North Access Road and West Bird Boulevard. Rezoning said property from C5 Highway Commercial and C4 General Commercial to PUD 2023-103 District, generally for commercial services and retail, multiple family residential, convenience storage, and warehousing, and adopting the PUD final plan related to PUD 2023-103, providing for severability, and providing for the publication of the caption of this ordinance and establishing an effective date. I had to read it all because we had to get it into the record, so there we go.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll sum this up very quickly. So as you see on the screen, we have lots 4 and 5. If you remember, they were very long buildings. Due to market conditions, they were broken up into smaller buildings. And so we went from 2 to, looks like 9 buildings. And then the other thing is with the building configuration, there was a 40-foot setback in one area as it adjoins the properties to the left, and that's been reduced to 25. I know we had some discussion early on about the landscaping between the apartments and this industrial area. Now that they've done their grading, they're recognizing that the apartments actually will sit higher than the industrial area, so they're going to move all the landscaping over to the apartment side so that they still have all the visual screening that they need from the industrial. Those are the only changes. The only thing that we're asking you to do is to approve the ordinance that we have attached with the original plans and as well as the revised Exhibit D and the D1 and the alternate site plan. And the applicant is here if you have any questions.
Okay. For discussion.
Move for approval.
Okay, there's a motion
Second.
made by Member Pro Tem Goolsby, second by Councilmember Najarian. Any discussion further by anybody on this item? Had lots of opportunity to discuss it, so if there's no other discussion, let's call for the vote then, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman.
No.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Recusing myself for proximity to my real property, and I've filed with the city secretary.
Okay, that motion passes, and I'm gaveling, which means we conclude the discussion on that particular tab item. Okay? This is all new to me too. We're all learning in this process. All right, move on to tab number C. Ordinance number 581-Y-PUD 2023-108. It's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Universal City amending ordinance 581-Y-PD-PUD 2023-105, amending the zoning map of the City of Universal City, Texas, for an approximately 12-acre property located at 2280 Pat Booker Road, rezoning said property from C3 Commercial Services to PUD 2023-104, district generally for multifamily residential and convenience storage, adopting the PUD final plan related to PUD 2023-104 district, providing for severability and providing for the publication of the caption of this ordinance and establishing an effective date. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry, my chair is broken. It just keeps flopping all over the place. You know, like any good project, once you start breaking ground, you realize things are a little bit different. So topographic issue on this particular lot. If you remember in the original one, they had a lot of buildings, kind of one big building. For topographical reasons, they had to split all those up. And so they've revised the building layout and adjusted some of the parking areas. From the staff perspective, we actually think the layout is better, and we think that for the people that live behind this, that their sightline will be greatly reduced as well. And so staff is recommending approval. Like on the last one with this ordinance, we are revising Exhibit D1 and an alternate set of plans and recommending to City Council for approval. And we do have the applicants here if you have questions.
Okay. Anybody have any questions to the applicants or whatever? Yes, Mr. Cosby.
Thank you. Can you give me a brief summary on the trees that we're taking down now versus what we were before? That was the one that, if you remember last time, I was the guy that was like, save as many trees as you can. And as I look at it, I'm still having a hard time understanding how many of the heritage trees that we're taking down versus that we're saving.
You're just focusing on heritage.
Heritage trees at this point, yeah.
Well, we can show you along the rear edge of the property.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have the clicker.
Oh, sorry. There you go. Wrong button.
And the clicker's not on either. There we go. Is that the one you want?
Yeah. Actually, a little bit further. So we don't have the exact number of how many heritage trees we may or may not lose, but here we do have a revised tree preservation plan, which, as you can see, we're retaining some of the clusters of trees along the border, which will provide buffer for the single-family residences that are adjacent to the rear lot line. And so those will go unchanged, although, let's see if you move over here, same thing. We have two trees over here that we'll be retaining as well. And I don't know if you want to talk about the new plans.
Yeah,
but
if I, I'm sorry we don't have the number. There's a significant amount of trees out there. And I can tell you we're going to save all that we can. But there are going to be a significant number of them that are lost too because of grading and where the buildings go. What do I do to go back and forth? Just these? Back and forth, yeah. Okay. If I can step
Yes,
over.
go right ahead.
Sure. Go ahead, step over there if you want.
Yeah, we're doing this. The thing that triggered our wanting to change this was that accessibility units that were accessible is important. And by the other site plan that we had, we would lose about 60% of those accessible units. You still get to them, but you had to go up and down stairs, so they weren't accessible, in my opinion. By changing it this way, we went from 4 buildings, there was one big one, these 2 were one building. What this does is it flattens all the first floors out again, like we thought we had the first time, so that these are all first floors are accessible, which is very key to us and to tenants here, we believe. And what that did was it allowed us to pick some of these trees up, which some of these are heritage trees, and leave them in place. Getting one thing this site plan did though is it pushed this parking back further against the fence. And the initial plan had this many trees back here, but we wanted y'all to know, one, why we're changing is because of the accessibility. But to protect these homes, we went in and if you can see the shadows, keep my fingers off of this, they had, you know, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one have big trees in the backyard. But we strategically placed tree islands that are we're going to put new trees in. And we're willing, if any of these people would like a new tree in their backyard, we'll be more than happy to plant that for them. I don't know how many will. I think they already have a lot of vegetation. But when you add that to this tree line, as the city manager said, this is higher than those. They're going to be looking over this fence. They're going to be seeing the tops of trees. And the corner of this building is, all the rest of the buildings are further away from that parking, from their backyards.
That answer your question to the best of their ability?
It did, but my problem is that it takes so long to regenerate a heritage tree. Basically, a heritage tree is essentially it's an ecosystem to itself. And the fact that we take out a heritage tree and we replace it with a couple little trees, that doesn't do me anything. As I looked at this plan, I feel like you didn't, not you personally, but that there wasn't enough efforts to save the heritage trees. And that was my big thing last time y'all were here was, I can get behind this if you're willing to save more of these heritage trees. And I want y'all here so bad. I just am not seeing that effort to save the heritage tree. I'm not saying it's not there. I need you to show me that where we're saving those heritage trees, where we're making concessions to save a heritage tree, something along those lines for me to be able to support this. I'm one of 5 voices tonight, so that's my issue. Is as I look through it and I try to see. These are 30 and 40-inch oak trees that we're taking out. And those are painful. I have one in my front yard, and the day it dies, I'm moving. So to see so many that are lost, I feel like additional concessions need to be made somewhere.
Mr. Goldstein, I understand the need for the heritage trees, but remember that they are going to have 539 trees on 12 acres. That is a lot of trees already, a lot of cover, a lot of open space. But until we had the PUD system, we didn't save any trees in the city. Everything got cut down. So while I understand the need to preserve the heritage trees, I think that maybe in this particular instance, we might be putting a little too much emphasis on the heritage trees on this one lot, when for 63 years, we haven't considered trees at all.
Well, no, and San Antonio didn't consider trees at all, but now they have a massive tree ordinance, and that frustrates so many architects and designers because of what we have to do. And I've never pushed back on, let's get these trees, and when in other areas like that. But this is one of our view corridors on Pat Booker, and to see these trees, I'm having issues with the loss of so many.
Okay, if this softens that, I know what you're saying, but most of these trees along Pat Booker, which are the ones when you're driving along you'll see, these are the heritage trees. Now you get back in here, and because of TxDOT's, and this water channel is not our water, it's TxDOT's, and it's coming off of Pat Booker, and it also is over here. So you add those two pieces in, we're dealing with what we got here. Stephen Jackson's our architect, and he was instrumental in laying this out. Can you talk about how important your studies were to get to this site plan to save as many of the trees as possible?
Sure, thank you. As we have on all projects, there's a tree survey conducted. They mark pretty much whatever the cities require. Sometimes it's 6 inches and above, sometimes it's 8 or 10 inches above. For a lot of the graphical purposes, we really just show trees that are usually around 15 inches and above. So this is a representation of some of the larger trees, but there's still a lot of smaller trees that will remain and we'll try to work around throughout the development. Now, as David had mentioned, you know, with the grading and the building placements and stuff, it may displace some of the trees. And we've worked and we moved, and I moved as much as I could because I have certain code requirements, ordinance requirements, design standards I have to adhere to for any building, whether it be an apartment or commercial building, setbacks and stuff. So we do tweak and we move what we can to save as many trees, the big trees, as possible. For example, the building that is the horizontal in the lower right corner, there's 2 big trees on either side, and I squeezed that building as much as I could. The drive coming off that secondary access is actually meandering around 3 or 4 trees. So it's not just a straight shot in. I actually was working on trying to pull those around and save the trees. That little tan building just left of the dog park is a maintenance building. There's a huge tree right there. So I have been working on trying to save. The landscape architect, when they get fully involved, again, will do even a more thorough layout of the trees and working with a civil engineer. And, you know, there may be more that get saved that we don't even show on here.
Okay. I appreciate, but so my big thing is, y'all did make building concessions to save trees?
Well, I mean, I worked on layouts and where I can move, because I kept the tree layer on whenever I was putting the buildings in. And if I saw something that was a 20-inch or 22, I try to work around it. Of course, the bigger ones, I said, I actually have this size of the tree, not just a circle or a dot. I try to estimate the canopy size with my graphics, and then I work to see, how far can I go? I don't want to get too far into the canopy and over to the root zone with a building or a structure that can't be healthy sometimes. So I really worked as much as I could of the layout, and of course our key component was obviously keeping everything as much as we can along the front, and that large cluster that's kind of off to the left that kind of runs around the channel, even though right there where David's pointing, that large cluster of trees, we're working really hard to keep as much of that as possible.
Okay.
Because it's going to be a huge amenity area for the residents.
So as far as the keeping as many of those as possible, you weighed square footage, you weighed accessibility, you weighed costs, but the tree itself was in there as well in your thought process.
There always are. And then, of course, we also have to look at, okay, if we're losing trees, we want to replace trees with the new layout. So if we're doing new layouts, we want to plant new trees. So seems to be barren. But yes, we try to work with all the existing trees so we don't have to plant as many new ones.
Do you have any idea of what your replacement? Your landscape architect's not in there yet?
No, we don't have that calculated yet. I mean, there's usually a requirement, a minimum requirement for, offsets and stuff. And then when they really get into it, they'll have that. But their directive is to save as many trees as possible. Whatever contractor the contractor has chosen, they're going to have to make sure they have tree protection, and even the smaller stuff. So we'll have to make sure they protect the smaller stuff.
And when we get out there and lay the buildings out, when they come out and stake and this building, if, we're going to do this with that building as much as we can, so that we can, if there's a tree here that just doesn't have to show on this drawing, if we can shift the club 5 feet and save that tree, we're going to do that. And that's true with all of them. I mean, it's a tight site because of the drainage channels, and then we want to protect the neighbors' views and, the back property line. But, I mean, we're going to be moving the buildings as much as we can.
Ms. Turner, what can we do, what can we say at this point to ensure that they do come back with it? I trust them.
Well, they have to come back with a landscaping plan that will be conducive to what they presented this evening, right? So as a staff, if you would like, we can indicate that when they come back with their landscaping plan, they need to mark on there the number of heritage trees that they're saving and the number that they're taking down.
And how they're mitigating the ones that they're taking
Yeah,
out.
that will be in their landscaping plan, absolutely.
I can get behind that. I'm just trying to make sure that our voices are heard to save as many trees as possible.
Yes.
I mean, we've already gotten with the landscape architect in this, to me, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's a tree preservation plan. And so Stephen's not the only one that's been looking at this and helping. The landscape architect is already working on this also.
I just didn't see a breakdown of the tree preservation plan in these drawings. And I will tell you that several of my sheets didn't load. It could have been on those, but I just didn't see a breakdown.
In the development, there'll be a full one where there'll be actual calculations, tree caliper sizes, everything that is part of the submission.
Perfect. I'm done. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody else want to weigh in on this for a discussion before we go for a motion? Mr. Najarian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate Mayor Pro Tem Goldsby wanting to save those heritage trees, and I think we all do. As many times as I've walked the site, I'm not a land architect. I don't even play one on TV, but I've walked the site, and to me, I have to agree with the city that this new layout that you've presented, I like a lot better than the old layout. From what I've seen, it has the footprint as far as where the trees in the front are, the visual, those heritage trees, it seems like they're still there, that the new footprint hasn't impeded on those. As from what I can see here, I really do like the new setback from where the storage area is going to be. And it just seems to flow better. The dog park being in the back towards that area away from the front end of the from the buildings. I just think, I personally think the whole thing does flow a lot better. And like I said, I've walked the property a few times, and when I'm looking at the changes in where the buildings are, I don't see how they didn't keep those original trees that you were looking at front basically together. So I do appreciate that as well. I just wanted to add that.
Mr. Patrick, did you have something?
I was just going to say, I had spent time the last time you guys came looking at the list of trees that you were saving and protecting and, removing. And so I'm assuming that list will be impacted by this. Did you guys update it as far as this packet? Because I couldn't get it to load this weekend either. I finally got it to load here now, but.
Yes, that exhibit probably has a new listing of what was potentially going to be removed and what's going to be saved.
Well, this was columns of each tree listed individually and identified what type it was and if it was going to be the diameter and then if it was listed as protected and removed.
We got that part of that.
Okay.
We only have the graphic.
I think that definitely would be something we would be interested in seeing going forward. The landscape plan.
Yes, it will.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm good with that.
Great.
Thank you.
Mr. Vaughn, did you have anything? Ashton, did you have anything?
I don't have anything, I'm good.
I just
Okay.
wanted to add in for clarity. So earlier they did send the list of the trees that they were going to have and the sizes. And so there are 326 oak trees, 3 mesquite, 105 hackberry, 7 cedar, 13 chinaberry, 52 Dutch elm, 6 Chinese pistachio, 9 crappy myrtles, that's what I call them, and 2 persimmons. So it's 523 trees.
Yeah. It's a lot of trees, I agree, and they went into great detail. I was just, I know Bear was kind of looking for that list again, updated.
And Ms. Turner actually printed out for me tonight.
Awesome, thank you.
And they're calling this the Grand Oaks. They're going to have to live up to that, right?
Okay. Another discussion, I do need a motion on this item. Yes, you want to add one thing? Please.
One other thing that we talked about, and we wanted to take the opportunity, and this color is not bad, not really good. this is a better color. This is the clubhouse, and we've said that we were going to mimic some things out of Randolph Air Force Base. And the colors, including the barrel tile roof, are going to pick up from Randolph. In the building, we put in eyebrows for that also. And then on the front, there will be a fence, and the fence columns will mimic the columns that are at Randolph. So that was specifically something that
Planning and zoning asked for.
But we said that all along that we were going to change that, and we just wanted to demonstrate it.
Okay, very good. I need a motion and a second.
Move to approve.
Councilmember Najarian, second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Fitzpatrick. Any other discussion on this item? Okay, then let's call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman.
No.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. That includes tab number C. Let's go down to tab D. An ordinance number 558-G-2023. It's an ordinance repealing it in its entirety. Ordinance 568-F-2022, curfew for minors under 17 years of age, repealing any enforcement procedures or criminal penalties related thereto, repealing Article 5, curfew for minors, Section 2-7-60 through Section 2-7-63 of the Universal City Code of Ordinances accordingly, and setting an effective date. So, City Manager, ma'am.
State law is requiring everybody to repeal their curfew ordinances. This ordinance does that, and so it takes it off our codes and makes us compliant with state law. That's it.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion is made by Councilmember Najarian. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Mayor Tim Goolsby. Discussion, anyone? All right, this is the new requirement. Okay, call for the vote then, please.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. So move on now to tab number D, to E. Ordinance 542-E-2023. It's an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Universal City amending certain sections of the Part 3 Activities Regulated, Chapter 3-1 Health, Article 2 Food and Establishments to remove certain definitions and repeal requirements for a food manager health card, amending the Code of Ordinances accordingly and setting an effective date. Ma'am?
Thank you, Mayor. Tab E, F, and G, all three, same item, again, repealed by state, so we'd like to get our books cleaned up. We're asking that you approve all three ordinances. Thank you.
Move to approve.
All right. I've got a motion to approve tab E and second by Councilmember Bowman. Any discussion on the rest? All right, let's call for that vote then, please.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Najarian.
Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes as well. Move on to tab F. Again, as City Manager mentioned, these are items that are requirements. Ordinance 361-AG-2023, ordinance amending Ordinance 361 and Article 4, fees and charges for license, permits, inspections, certificates, services, appeals, and other official action, Section 1-4-40, schedules and this Code of Ordinances, repealing certain sections and paragraphs accordingly, providing severability, and setting an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made, Councilmember Bowman, second by Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby. Discussion further, anybody? All right, call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Bowman.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes as well. Move on to tab number G, ordinance number 168-D-2023. It's an ordinance repealing it in its entirety, ordinance 168, 168-B-94, 168-C-214, related to the issuance of local alcohol permit and restrictions on the location of businesses that sell alcohol in Chapter 3-3, Article 2, alcoholic beverages of the Universal City Code of Ordinances, and repealing any fees, enforcement procedures, or penalties related thereto, and setting an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made, Councilmember Bowman, second by Mayor Pro Tem Neville. Goolsby. That's how long Dick was here.
I'm feeling old now.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? I like the levity, that's good. Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Bowman.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, let's move on to tab number H, and that's a 2024 election of Bear County Appraisal District Board of Directors. Okay, we have the opportunity to vote for specific candidates who have said that they would like to serve on the Bear Appraisal District Board. And my recommendation to you is that we have 12 votes. Many other entities get multiple votes, so our 12, although, it's small in number. I'd like to recommend Dr. Ariana Rocha Garcia from the city of San Antonio. She's very efficient, and I think she will provide a really good service as a member of the Bear Appraisal District. So my recommendation to you all is that we cast our 12 votes for Councilmember Rocha Garcia of San Antonio City Council.
Second motion to approve that.
Second.
Yes, we do. Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby, second by Member Najarian. Any discussion, anyone? Okay, let's call for the vote then, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Recusing myself, as this is a client I have to be independent of.
Understand. Okay, that motion passes. Move on then to tab number I, 2024 election of Guadalupe County Appraisal District Board of Directors. Did anybody have any comments about that one there particularly? The individual that I know personally is Mr. Darrell John. I think Darrell would be a good job representing Guadalupe Council in that district. He's former councilman in Schertz, also owns the Blue Bonnet Palace, very active in local affairs. So my recommendation is we cast our vote for Mr. John.
Second motion for that one too.
Okay.
Second.
And second by Councilmember Fitzpatrick. Any discussion? All right, let's call for the vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Recusing myself, because this is a client I have to be independent of.
Understand. Okay, that motion passes. Let's move on now to tab number J, which is a discussion on the extraterritorial jurisdiction, the ETJ annexation or de-annexation.
Yes, sir, this was requested by Councilmember Vaughn. I have put in some general background information for your discussion, so I'll leave it up to City Council.
All right, Mr. Vaughn, that's your subject, sir.
Thank you. I have some questions first. You mentioned several months ago that there was a potential impact on our elections. Can you refresh us on that again and what the
Potential, I'm sorry, it kicked
Impact
off
on
right when you were talking.
elections.
impact on our elections?
On our elections, yes. So obviously, it's in a separate county. They only have voting centers, meaning you can vote anywhere in the month of November. They do not have voting in the month of May. That's when we have our local elections. So last time, the Bear County Elections Office very graciously set up at the library a place for the Guadalupe residents to vote. So I don't know how long they're willing to do that. So
we'd have to find another place in Guadalupe County for them to vote, is that right?
has to be within our city limits, and it has to be a building that is a municipal operation. A public building. Library, fire station, police station, public works station, whatever it happens to be. But we don't have any public buildings in Guadalupe County. We petitioned to try to use either one in Selma or Schertz, and the Secretary of State said no. So Jackie Callahan from Bear accommodated us last time in the election, and Kristen worked very hard to make sure that the people who were out there now knew where to come and vote.
And this would not, any de-annexation would not impact our service area or CCN for the water and sewer, is that correct, or is that?
Not for our water, no. That entire area is done by CCMA. It's the water where we have the CCN.
Okay.
CCMA has the CCN in that.
Sure, but if we were to de-annex, we would still be able to provide them water service, is that?
Yeah,
true?
because we already paid to put the water line out there.
Right, it's our CCN. The low water crossing that we're considering working towards, or wherever we're at on that, will that be accessible during a storm?
Depends on the type of storm.
of the storm.
Yeah, define it.
Stand up.
So if there's a flash flood, we probably wouldn't be able to cross it.
No, on average, we have maybe 1 to 2 in a year with our aviation that we actually close. So those would be the only times it wouldn't be able to cross.
Okay, thank you. So the reason I wanted to talk about this was because I'm having trouble with the concept of it. So I kind of wanted to hear what my fellow council members thought about it. I like pros and cons list. I see there's a pro that we're getting some tax revenue from them, but I think there's some cons. I'm worried about our response times, being able to get to them. I understand that we're trying to do this low water crossing to cut some time off, but I'm concerned if that's going to be effective, even if it's during a storm. I think that we're leaning on selling shirts to provide service there quickly, and I don't think that's fair to sell our shirts. If we're not the first responders, that's kind of putting an onus on them. And the developer agreed to annex them, not the homeowners themselves. And I would be interested to know what the homeowners think about being part of Universal City versus another community, especially because they're having trouble voting at this time. And so I feel like it's not in the city's best interest to try to provide them police and fire service through a low water crossing. And I'm concerned it's not in their best interest. And so I think we should look at seeking a better outcome for both sides. And so I'm curious what my fellow council members think about this situation and what their direction is. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, anybody have specific, Mr. Adjourn?
Just a couple questions. Chief? Yes. Yes. I forgot we got two chiefs here, so.
You have to clarify.
Can you just go over our standard, give me a rundown of our standard response time here in the Universal City proper and what the difference is that you've seen over there in the Guadalupe area? With that said, also what you see coming up if there were problems with the ingress egress of over the river and that was shut down, what the response time might change?
Sure, it's I wouldn't say negligible, but it's not that dramatic. Our response time tolerations are about 3.5 to 7.5 minutes, well below national standards, and we pride ourselves on that. Our citizens deserve to have us there quickly. Non-emergency response times are about 3.5 to 7 minutes, and this is consistent with that. Obviously, the land bridge there will expedite that and keep us down to that closer to that 3.5 mark. But even going around, the 7-minute mark is still fairly within our tolerations. Again, the bridge will only be out of commission in rare instances, and the water resides very quickly as well. So no longer than you've seen aviation affected. That's the difference. If that helps.
Thank you. It does. Thank you. Also, I lost my train of thought there. I was worried too about the response time of what that might bring, and since the time that we've had the houses over there and things, I haven't seen any problems arise. I haven't heard anything. I met some residents out there, and it's a beautiful area. They're happy to be there in Universal City. I haven't heard anybody griping about it. We've had that in our ETJ, that we've had that area
Since we incorporated,
since
sir.
we incorporated, yeah.
But again, I understand you're talking about the Orchard Park, which is 169
Orchard
residences,
Park,
but you still have all that other property out there is yet to be developed.
Right. Yes.
Do we have development plans for it? Yeah, we've had a couple development plans for it. So you
That was
have more
going to-
coming.
That was going to be my next, not really question, but something to bring up is the fact that there is more potential for us out there. Again, we are landlocked. We're going to be we are going to be built out here very quickly. That gives us one avenue. And I don't see the reason to, I would say, Mr. Vaughn, if you would get a consensus of the people that are in Orchard Park now to see how they feel about wanting, but other than that, I don't see changing anything on there.
Well, you also have to consider the legal ramifications, which we have not looked at, of telling people that we're going to de-annex them. You know, they bought their houses with the understanding that they had city police, city fire, EMS service, code compliance, building officials, public works, attending to whatever their needs have to be. So, you know, we signed a service agreement that we were going to provide all these services to that area when we annexed it. And they, you know, bought their homes assuming that we were going to provide all those services. There are legal ramifications now for taking all of that away from them.
Yeah, and my point being too that I just, with everything we've done in that area, the residents seem to like it. I don't see a problem with it. I'd be totally against de-annexing at this point unless it was forced to do it because they just didn't want it. But I don't see that.
If I recall, some years ago, we were approached to annex them, correct?
I'm sorry, you mean the Orchard Park? Yes, the developers. The
Developers came to,
the
yes.
current owner, and before he sold it to the
It wasn't
developer.
the people, because there was nothing
Yeah.
there yet, obviously. And we spent a lot of time discussing this particular issue.
Right.
And I think the final result from council was that this would probably be in the best interest of the city as long as we can provide the services that we'll need to provide. And we grilled you guys pretty heavily at that time. And so I think this is where we're standing right now.
Mr. Mayor, I think worth noting on that is that how long CM has that subdivision been up and operational with folks? A year and a half? A little longer? 2 years. In the last 2 years, the only complaints we've received from them for services is that there's a need for traffic enforcement. And that's the only complaint we get anywhere. It's never been related to response time or our presence, just for what that's worth.
18 goes like this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and people will run it
And
fast.
on the roadway, if you're in, and I apologize because not everybody was here when we had this discussion. So part of the discussion that we had on the roadway was originally that was meant to be a bridge that was going to be built up, and there was going to be free flow traffic from FM 1518 into Universal City, down Kitty Hawk Road, Sunrise Canyon, and then from there on. But then one of the concerns that we had is, well, if it was just the residents that were using that would be fine. But how many other people that worked at the base or wanted to get over here would be cutting through all of the Universal City residential areas to get here? So between the volume of traffic that we had looked at and the cost of what I'll call a land bridge, which was somewhere around $4.5 million, we decided that, one, we didn't want to put the residents through that, so that it would become, you know, the shortcut from Schertz and Salma into the base and anywhere else they wanted to go. That's why we kind of backed off and did the low water crossing, because we know it's only for emergency access and people don't have to worry about somebody driving through their neighborhood all the time.
One other thing to consider too is the value that we get from our mutual aid agreements, in that not just our response to Orchard Park, but from them getting to us when we need help as well, because we are the busiest suburb. So we rely on them more than they rely on us in many instances. So this will expedite their response time using that same ingress as we would, yes.
All right, did you have something, Mr. Fitzpatrick, Ms. Bowman? Let me.
I'm sorry. No, you're okay. I'm sorry. I think one of my big concerns too is just the election, like not having a May election for council, I think would be a huge detriment to move that to November. So I don't know what we're going to do for that, but I think that's why I have concerns, and also just spending a lot of money. I understand it would be a big leap and it'd be a crazy thing to do. I hesitate because it's a lot of money to spend on a lot of things, and then it's like, I'm sure they do like being here, but at the end of the day, if someone told me Selma would take me over for 19 cents for a tax rate, I don't know if I'd be super loyal anymore. If I was right on the border of Selma and them. And that doesn't mean that Selma wants them, but I I think it's something to consider and talk about. I think that's a lot of money to spend. Our elections could be, hindered by it. And then just the fact of, does it make sense? I don't know. I don't know if logically to me it makes sense to spend all that money over there and try to make something over there when we have a lot to do here. Yeah, I just wonder, could.
Water over there, we already have the funding for the road, and I'm guessing you're moved a long way along on that road, getting the Corps of Engineers.
We bought the land.
I think we're getting elections really quick. So, this last May election was the first time we had to deal with, Guadalupe County in May. The election before that was November. They had those centers no problem. I don't want the perception to be that Bexar County will not do this for us, because they will. It was just a kind of a baptism by fire of, oh man, this affects us this way now. But they've been more than accommodating for us. I don't see that being an issue with them moving forward. So I know we keep going back to elections. It's just, there has to be a new process that we establish with Bexar County, but I don't think that it's within the realm of possibility or their willingness to do that.
Right. Okay. Only affected 169 homeowners now. Obviously, it'll become a bigger advertising issue for us. As it continues to develop and the property we continue to annex, but, it just means that they're not just running down to City Hall because their house is right next door to vote or to the library. They are making a concerted effort to go to one location versus all locations.
Okay. Good, do you have any comments?
Oh, I just was gonna say, we could put a library annex over there somewhere and fix that, so thank you.
Okay.
It's a joke.
Paul, you want to add something?
Just drop a couple million on a new library over there. No big deal, Kim. Like, this is what we're doing.
Okay.
Yes, just real quickly, I remember this coming up, many council meetings in the back, and that was our biggest concern at that time, was the bridge over there, the bridge over River Kwai there, that people were gonna start using, going through that Kitty Hawk and using, and all of the council were, just very aggressive, no. The neighborhood here didn't want it, wouldn't be able to take it, and we weren't gonna have it. When we figured out that it would be emergency, it would be ingress egress for emergency vehicles only, is something that we already knew that we were gonna have to put in at some time. That opened that up. I did have a concern with the voting as well. But before she came up and even said that, I was thinking that we are not the only people that have ever gone through something like this, and I'm sure something would be worked out down the road, and that wouldn't be a very big concern of mine. But I think it's that area there, and the potential for the future is a major asset to Universal City as a whole. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all.
Okay, again, this is just discussion, Mr. Patrick.
And the only thing I wanted to say was, I feel like the homeowners bought their homes with the understanding that they were going to be in UC. We were asked, we voted on it a while ago. I think it would be a bad move for us to back out of that. At this point, I think it would be a bad look for the city. I think those people bought believing where they were going to live, and I think that's an important consideration.
Okay, Ms. Bowman?
No, I'm good. Sorry.
Okay. All right, anyway, this is just a discussion item. If we want to continue to pursue it, I'll work with you guys, and we'll work with the staff. If anybody thinks that they would like to have this as a future action item, please just let us know where we can get that done. My personal opinion is we did spend a lot of hours and lots of agonizing hours trying to figure out how we can make this work. And I believe that we've done exactly what we wanted to be able to do. It does give us an opportunity to have more people, citizens that are members of Universal City. That certainly have in our tax base. And so I personally think that we made the right decision when we did, and there's still more development that's potential in the future. And I agree with what Kristen said. I think we can always work this out with the Bexar County and the situation. I too do not want us to move our elections from May to November. I think we made the prudent decision when we made that decision some years ago to stay in May, and I think it's worked very successfully for all of us. So let's leave it at that. If anybody has any specifics that they would like to go to an action item, please see me and we'll press on from there. Phil, thanks for bringing it up. I understand your concern. definitely. Okay, that's J. Let's go now to tab K, which is a resolution 956-A-2023. It's a resolution establishing the code of conduct policy for elected and appointed officials. Now, this was an item that was also, this is your item, wasn't it, Ms. Bowman? So would you like to take the floor, ma'am?
I'm not sure I'm gonna say this right, but I'm gonna try. I'm just saying, can we move to approve with the edits? But I realize that there's two of us on there, but we're essentially saying the same thing. So, is that possible, or do we have to be like more specific?
I don't know that, I feel like the confidential information comment was probably, I think there's very little that's truly confidential. I think executive session is more of what that's impactful on, or potentially city employee matters or something like that. Like I don't know that, I think that is defined, and I think it's a legitimate concern that we do have to keep executive session basically confidential, and I don't know if it would be good to maybe make that edit to that section. That things that we are told that are confidential. I mean, I don't think we need to get rid of it. I just am wondering, how do we make that so that it's acceptable? Because I don't know that.
Okay, you're talking about the one section
14.
that's,
It's 14.
14.
Yeah.
Which is Phil's.
Mayor, is it okay to have a little bit more open discussion on these two since we're?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I just consider that my main objection to that is there's not really a definition. So if we can work in a definition of what confidential is that we all kind of agree with, then I would be fine with leaving it in. It's just a little bit too open-ended, so I would be afraid that one of us might have an open records request that we share with somebody and then someone else says, oh, well, that was confidential. And so then how do you settle that if there's no definition of what confidential is?
Okay.
Ms. Santee, do you have?
No, you piqued my interest with a council member having an open records request, because council members are entitled to information that may be otherwise considered confidential if it's in their official capacity for the city council. And so, the city should have a form that you have to sign that indicates that you understand that you're receiving this in your official capacity and that it's not for distribution or use to the public. So we do already kind of have that covered in that sense that city council members should not be providing information they've received in their official capacity that contains confidential information because it's outside of the act.
I don't think I've ever recalled getting something like that. If I missed it, if we had, do you recall, Ms. Turner, if you ever sent something to us and said this is confidential in your capacity?
I've not sent anything to you as a group, but I have had cases where a council member has requested some information to look at on a specific project, and I have given it to them.
Did you tell them this is confidential or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And so sometimes what I would do is I would have them either just sit and look through it in my office and give it back to me, or if they took it with them, then when they were done looking at it, they brought it back so that it was not in their possession. But yes, they're well aware that the information they have is confidential.
I think if that wasn't worked in to say, if it was information provided to you with the caveat that it's like we were made aware that this should be confidential. Otherwise, I think anything that I essentially received from the city would be subject to an open records request that would not be considered confidential.
And I would agree with that. Like, our agendas are posted, like, we're not getting things anytime I feel like anytime we're dealing with confidential information, we are told that up front. When we go into executive session, you're very careful about saying, that. And if I requested something that wasn't for general use, I would expect Kim to say, yes, you can see this, but it's in your official capacity and it's confidential. I felt like that was kind of covered in one of the first trainings I went through too, that they kind of talked through that a little bit. So that one didn't alarm me like it did you.
Well, I'm just thinking some people think payroll information is confidential. So if someone did an open records request to get all the payroll for city employees and then shared that with the council member, and then the council member shared that with somebody else, would that be considered confidential?
If somebody got it from an open records request, I would assume it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, to that end, I know that city salaries have been shared on social media,
but
right? Yeah, so.
My fear is somebody would then claim this was confidential and you shouldn't have shared it, so now you're in violation of the code of conduct.
Okay, so are we looking for a clarification then of that section that talks about confidentiality?
Yes.
Okay,
So just if we could add in, maybe leave the section in and add something in about, if notified that this was
As identified confidential.
then we should keep it confidential kind of thing.
Mr. Turner, could I request maybe that we just take another look at that one with section 14 there and change the wordsmithing before we make a final action on this? Or I could ask for a motion based on the change that would be presented to us. But I think I think it would be best if we just hold off on this and just instruct staff. Is everybody else okay with most of the other items that are in there, the edits that have been taking place there? I think that's what you brought up, Ms. Bowman.
Yeah, I would hate to table this again. I feel like this has been pushed since August. Yeah, but if we could just change 14, if everyone's fine with that, just rewording, adding that last sentence, and then does anyone have any issues with any of the other edits, I guess, is the question. If you don't, then could we vote and just change that 14 so we can get this off so we don't have to put this on another city council agenda and keep pushing it.
Totally.
It's been long.
100% agree with you.
Or a document. This is an internal document, right? It's yours, it's for you. Revisions are always going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be in place in 60, 90 days from now. Something's going to happen and we're going to bring it back and probably revise something. It's just the natural fluency of that. But I will just say that is just kind of boilerplate language that we took from a couple of other cities. That's the way they had it written. So I'm guessing that it has worked for them for whatever reason, but we'll do a little bit of research on that and then come up with a definition of confidential information. Personally, I think it's in there where it says property, personnel, or affairs of the city, we could say, or, legal actions or private negotiations. Maybe that's good, just adding those few things. But, we can work through that.
I think the best thing for us to do is to go and act on this, like Councilmember Bowman said, let's act on it this evening. And then we have an opportunity, as it's a resolution, it's not as binding, obviously, as an ordinance would be. We have subject to change as we see fit. So I would be glad to entertain a motion to approve this.
All right, I move to approve the edited version, changing 14 slightly for the to define confidential information.
All right, there's that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, but I have another comment.
Okay, second by Councilmember Fitzpatrick, and discussion is still open.
My other comment would be, I prefer Ashton's edit to the other, I think it's Phil's edit on number 6.
Backwards.
What?
I said it wrong.
Okay. I was like, I don't think I was going to say, I don't think we want to agree to that one.
That one's taken care of.
And then I like the fact that we, instead of saying we can't talk to the police chief or police officers, that all inquiries should be directed to the city manager in number 18. I thought that was a good edit as well.
Yeah, I think I've gone through this numerous times, and we've taken a lot of material from other entities related to this, and I think it's very comprehensive. Okay, we do have a motion to second. Is there any other discussion? All right, call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Bowman.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian.
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Now we'll move to tab L, which is another resolution 956-B 2023. Resolution of the City Council of the City University City, creating and establishing rules of procedure and providing for severability and an effective date. This item, you brought this on as well.
Yeah,
Yes,
sorry. Okay.
no, that's fine.
So this one we also brought up. I kind of think the cool thing is Rule 6 is now being fixed because just the way that we're doing the agenda now, like the way that we're stacking the meetings, right? So that'll end up fixing Rule 6. So that shouldn't be really an issue. I think that's brought up on here a couple times, like letting people speak is in the rules a couple times ahead of time. And then the only other one that's on mine was just the how to put things on the agenda. So I think that's probably something we'll have to have a discussion about if you guys don't like mine. So, and then that's it on mine. Like for my pink was just those two items. But like I said, I think the public hearing, which is Rule 6, is solved. And then it would just be how we place things on the agenda. There's different, Phil has one option, I have another option.
On Rule 4 under regular meetings.
Yeah.
So it says that the mayor can cancel a meeting with a majority vote of the city council. So if there's nothing for the agenda, that means that you have to have a council meeting to cancel a meeting. Do you understand that?
I didn't write that one, but I get what you're saying. Yellow's Phil, but I'm pink.
I'm fine scratching.
Yeah, I think that.
I'm fine taking that edit out.
Okay. So leave that one as is, that the mayor has the ability to cancel a meeting.
For Rule 4.
The city council.
Okay. All right.
So that's
Mr.
all I
Woodley, you
know.
have anything?
So as we move down to A, I don't have a problem with leaving city manager in there. And I have no problem with the rest of the of A on that one. Because the city manager is dealing with the city business, and if they're going to have need a special meeting, I don't have a problem if the city manager calls a special meeting. That's,
On Rule 5, yeah, I agree.
yeah, 5A.
The mayor, and if that was the case, I would have to confer with the mayor pro tem anyway.
That's right, you got to call.
Yeah, I don't see any use for edits on that particular one, leaving the city manager out.
Okay, maybe we should write this.
It just bypasses the mayor. So if the mayor's ever in a situation with the city manager where they're not agreeing on something, you wouldn't want the city manager to be able to override the mayor.
Correct.
So it neuters the mayor a little bit to say the city manager can override it. Similarly, later there's about agenda items where it says the city manager can place agenda items, and that kind of adds subject to the approval of the mayor, just because that's one of his main jobs. And I wouldn't want somebody that's in a city manager position to be able to override that.
Okay.
You just got to get busy, sir.
And then you have to remember that I have authority to put everything on there that is day-to-day operations. So that would mean every day I would have to confer with the mayor about if and when something was going to go on the agenda. That's pretty onerous. And those are not things that he would normally be dealing with. I mean, obviously, when the agenda goes out, we go over it with the mayor, or I call and advise him, hey, I'm putting this on the agenda. Are you okay with that? But I do have a responsibility to put the agenda together.
I would agree with that, but I think he should approve it. I mean, if you wanted to talk about what color of pink Ms. Bowman should wear, and he doesn't want to talk about that, I think you should be able to not talk about that agenda item.
So I would just say, if you're playing devil's advocate, we're talking about normal city business. So if we have a contract that needs to have a final payout or something that needs your approval or a change order, this is giving the mayor the authority to say, no, we're not going to do that.
We're not going to pay them.
And there's nothing the city staff can do to get that item on the agenda for a full discussion and vote by council without the mayor's approval.
Can I?
Too much power.
Yes,
I think the city charter also puts teeth behind the relationship between the city manager and the mayor, meaning that if you were to start slipping things, if the city manager in the future were putting things on the agenda that we didn't feel like, that you didn't feel like should be there, then we as a council can discuss the relationship with the city manager, because the city manager is hired by the council.
and we
So
have those discussions all.
Those are, yeah, and those are in the charter, so I feel like the teeth is there, we don't need to put it in here. I feel like if it ever did come to pass, that we would have the ability to act on it.
Okay.
I guess as a mayor, do you feel like the system is working for you?
Yes. We discuss items all the time, constantly. And so I think the relationship that we have in terms of putting the agenda together and the way it's been done, it's working very well.
You've been through 3 city managers?
3 city managers, yeah.
The process never changes. City managers and other cities, it's the same process everywhere. City managers understand the role of the relationship. It's usually through the charter, you're correct. The role and relationship of the agenda, the day-to-day operations, and the concurrence of the mayor.
Yeah, if there's something potentially on there that does not agree with me in terms of things, I can discuss that with Kim and we can either pull it off. If it's strictly operational things related to the city, that's her, she puts that on there, definitely. But we have never had to have a disagreement yet on any items. That's, thank goodness, that's probably the relationship that we have, professional relationship, but it's working very well. It's not broke.
I like that there's a check and balance to that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you could turn into a really mean guy, and now she actually has some ability to, buffer
Correct.
that.
No, you couldn't. No, yes, you're absolutely right. Yes. Okay, so,
We'll move down to Rule 8 then,
okay,
which is, okay, so we've gotten, so the consensus seemed to be to remove the edit to Rule 4 and to remove the edit to Rule 5. So I'm keeping a list here. So Rule 8 and 9 are the agenda. Does anyone have issues with mine or Phil's edits, which are slightly different for 8A?
I would actually say that I think that there's another way to get in. I think the council member comments, I think the way it currently exists is fine, like the council comments and then a majority if it's not related to a citizen and it's good. The other way I feel like if there was a situation that I had heard about and I asked the mayor and Kim to give me the background story on it, just because I was like, is this an issue? Is it not an issue? It was related to a police interaction with somebody in the public. And you had gone and talked to Chief Simons about it and found out that what our understanding, we learned something from that. I didn't need to ask about it in the meeting to get it on the agenda. We could actually do it kind of behind the scenes and see if it was an issue facing the city and we needed to take action or not. So I think that that's almost another way that doesn't even get acknowledged in here, that there's ways that we have so many ways to get things on the agenda.
right. And I think the new procedure that we have with staff reports and other discussion items that can take care of that situation if it need be. If you go back to, that item number 6 and you look at that, we have the ability, it can be acted on immediately if we wanted to. We chose to do that.
Right.
Yes, Paul.
No, you're okay. You're
You can take action on it immediately because it is listed on the agenda.
Right. Because it's listed, because we can take action. So it doesn't have to be listed as a discuss and approve or discuss and whatever. Paul, do you have a comment?
Yeah, as it is now, it's, we have, to get something on the agenda, we say we have to have 4 people. I haven't ever seen a problem getting anything, on the agenda for discussion. What I don't like the edit about any council member may place an item on the agenda during the council member comment segment of the meeting. The city council shall not discuss this item this time. No item added to an agenda in this manner shall be refused or postponed without the item owner, council member who created them, consenting refusal or postponement. Unless I'm reading this wrong, it says that any one council member can just say, I want something on the agenda.
I'll let Ms. Bowman explain it because that was her.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you look at every single city around us, every single one, Selma, Schertz, Garden Ridge, even New Braunfels has to have 2 council members, but every single city around us for 10 plus cities, any council member is allowed to put anything on the agenda. They're allowed to give it into their mayor or their city manager and just say, hey, I'd like this on a future agenda. Here's all my supporting documents. Can you put this in the agenda packet? And then just label it Ashton's item and here's her notes and everything that she has. So I'm trying to give us a little bit more flexibility instead of having, because otherwise there's stuff that I would like to bring up and have discussions of, but then it's like I have to do it every single city council meeting, get your guys' consensus. So I'm okay with Phil's edit of having it approved by, 2 council members, or even doing like a form, like we have to fill out a form that says, this is what we'd like to put on the agenda. Here's the reasons why. Here's our supporting documents, which is something that Councilman Vaughn let me know that another city does. So it kind of shows that you're not just willy-nilly putting things on the agenda. You actually have supporting documents. You've done the time. You've made a PowerPoint presentation. You've put in the work that this is a real item that you want to, have people actually consider, instead of someone just say, no, Ashton, this is discussion only. It's not actionable. Like we get stuck in that bubble a lot of this is discussion only. This is discussion only. And it'd be nice to just, on the record, have people actually vote
at the end of it, instead of just having it constantly be a discussion, just say, I'm not for this or I'm for this.
And I get what you're going with that. That's something even different than getting something on the agenda, making it actionable or not. The first thing, and that's other places, what I'm talking about, and I'm going to keep Ashton or anybody else out of this. I'm talking, we put this in here, talk about future council meetings. If anybody can put anything on the agenda at any time, those are going to be some long meetings. I can see things coming up with people putting their agenda out there, and I'm just seeing things bogged down and bogged down. When we've had 4, we've never had a problem. But what I've always said too is like, maybe we don't need 4, maybe 3. I don't see where we need a majority to get something on the agenda, because already you're kind of going out for a vote or something like that. But I caution one person that I believe that is going to roll over to make some long meetings of things being brought up that really don't need to be on the agenda. That's my personal thought on that. Also, when we talk about an action item, I don't like something coming up and having it, I don't want to keep rolling it down the line, but I also don't want to be put in a position where I feel forced to make a decision on something that we just brought up.
Well, you have a
So-
second vote, right?
Huh?
But like it comes back usually, like we have to do things twice. Does that make sense?
Well, we've had a situation not long ago, and forgive me, it's kind of getting late exactly what it was, where we had brought it up, and all of a sudden, it was putting something on the ballot, and it was like, we want to take action on it tonight, and it's like, we hadn't even gone through much discussion on it yet, and well, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Goldsby and I had said, now I feel pressured. I like being able to bring up, and I can guarantee you, and I've never in my history turned down anything. If you're going to bring it up for discussion, I want to hear it. Even if I think that I don't agree with that, I don't think that we have time for that. If it's for discussion only, I've always said, please bring it up, because anything can be discussed, and I might, all of a sudden that discussion comes up, and I might say, you know what, I didn't realize that. Now it's something we can make an actionable item and come up with something, but just to be bringing something up and then having it an action item at that point rushes things, and I think just really rushes the council into making decisions that they might regret at another time that there's not enough information on. So I just don't agree with that at all. So, but maybe everybody around here disagrees with me, so.
Well, that's, okay.
I have a fear of someone being able to bog down council. That's my big fear. Not one time has anybody that said, hey, I'd like to put this on the agenda, have we ever, I mean, my thing is yes, I'll talk and argue with anybody at any point about anything. I mean, never hesitate to ask to put something on the agenda in front of us. But if we just give somebody that ultimate, at any time they can put something on there, well, I want to start changing, I want to start changing the height of the grass. I want to start changing the color of your pink, if you're pink, and I mean all these things.
Yeah, I agree
So
with that.
that's my fear. That's about it. And everything else Paul said, I almost agreed with most of it.
Most of it? I appreciate it.
I haven't seen an issue. I don't feel like there has been an issue to make this change, getting items on the agenda. I don't know if you feel differently than that. If you guys feel like it's been hard.
Yeah, so
I'm okay going to 3 versus 4.
I feel like it's been a little tricky because when you say like, hey guys, I want to have a discussion on this, but like you have no idea really what I'm talking about. Like, so it's a little bit harder there's certain things that you're like, oh, so I just thought maybe if I could just put it on the agenda and add a slideshow or something, it just make it a little bit easier and quicker. And then my only thing with the vote is just that if you were like, hey, Ashton, this is bananas, I don't really care about this, it's actionable, you can vote on it, you can tell me to pound sand immediately, and we move on from it. Instead of trying to like beat a dead horse, like the venue tax where it just kept going and going and going. We had all these meetings and it just went on for a really long time. I was just trying to like shorten that process a little bit so that if you thought someone was crazy or they were bringing something up that you didn't want to deal with, you could just immediately vote, say your piece, and we could just move on with life instead of having to keep having discussion after discussion. That's all I was trying to say, but maybe can we come to an agreement of maybe like 2 or 3 council members then instead of a majority? Could we change Rule 8 slightly? Could we all compromise on that part of it?
I would agree to 3. That makes it something that we all feel is something that is presentable and makes sense, but it doesn't have to be a majority because we decide that during the vote.
Okay.
And I was also going to say, I also think that if you have something that you want to flesh out or you have an idea, I think that going to Kim or the mayor and saying, hey, this is something I'm kind of questioning and getting the information, and then coming to council and saying, hey, I talked about this with Mayor and Kim. I still have some questions about it. I think it's something that should be added if they didn't take that action already just from you talking about it. I think that that's also a step in the middle versus always getting on to council. Like maybe it's something that after you talk with them, you're like, oh, I don't need that on anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's how this came about. I had already sat down with Kim and the mayor, and I just felt like we didn't really have a good game plan for how to put things on the agenda because there wasn't anything written anywhere. There's no handbook, no nothing that we're given that says, hey, this is how you put things on the agenda. All we have was like a memo from 1987, and I was born that year, so I don't think that quite is sufficient now that it's 2023. So I was just trying to get something on so that future council members know how they're supposed to do things, like how to get things on the agenda.
May I add one other caveat to that might help, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think I am. As long as it's not an agenda item, it is not illegal for us to discuss any idea amongst other members of the council to get, say, hey, I have this idea. What do you think? I'd like to present this and get a consensus beforehand and kind of rally for your cause and to get once it becomes an agenda item, then it's a whole different thing. Am I correct or not correct about
So
that?
you're talking about putting it on an agenda.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, in other words, instead of just getting something when she was saying if we just bring it up and put it on an agenda, maybe a better way to go around it is I was just letting her know that if there's an idea, something she wants to be putting on an agenda, she can legally talk to any council member or the mayor about the idea and see if somebody says, Ashton, I don't think that's a great idea, or hey, that's something that might be worth talking about. So when we come to the meeting and she says, I would like to put this on the agenda, she would already have it kind of discussed and know if there's backing for it. Am I confusing you? Am I screwing this up? Or it is not illegal for us to talk to other members of the council about ideas or things we might want if they're not an agenda item as of yet. Am I correct?
You're gonna have to disagree.
Okay.
Because to me, if you're discussing city business that you know is going to be coming before council, just because it's not already been identified on a specific agenda, I don't think that carve out is there in the law.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. As you just said, if you're discussing something that you know is part of the city and something that's going to be part of an agenda at a future date, absolutely not. You can't discuss that. I'm talking about bringing up an idea, like I want to put, I want people to agree, want everybody, council to agree on putting these certain trees at a certain park. And I want to bring it up as an agenda item. I can say, hey, what do you think about putting these trees at this certain park? And somebody says, I don't think that's a great idea. Or you get 3 council people say, yeah, it might be a good idea or something to discuss. You can do it that way, then bring it up.
Well, don't you have to be cautious about?
Private and then bringing it up on the agenda. It's still skirting the Open Meetings Act. I think you need to go back
closer to what Ms. Fitzpatrick said, that if you have an idea, the appropriate thing to do would be to come and either flesh it out with the mayor or myself, and then get some of the background information, get the liability issue on it, get everything that you need to know on it then. And if you think then that you can move forward with that, bring it up at a council meeting or to get it on the agenda.
With the appropriate documents to back up your.
That, I disagree. I think this is something the council might still want to do. Can I get a consensus of my council members to put it on? What we're saying is, yes, flesh it out, but don't do it amongst yourselves because you're going to set yourselves up.
Okay. That could be a problem.
Flesh it out with the mayor and myself, or mayor, myself, and, you know, Randy, or whoever it happens to be, and let us help you work through that process to get to where you want. And maybe there's an alternative solution of getting there without even having to go to council.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, ma'am.
So, which would be a really awesome thing, like if we had the Blackboard Connect where we could all talk to each other, which we've discussed before, that would be something.
It's now to allow you to talk to each other.
So you, but could you?
If you look at the Blackboard Connect, it is an agenda, and it is agenda items.
So if you, but could you post on that?
Questions about the agenda, but you're not having a conversation with each other about the agenda.
But that's my question. Could you post something on Blackboard Connect that said, hey, I have this idea, since you're presenting it in public, in a public arena, could you post that on Blackboard Connect? And then your council members could tell you, that's crazy, Ashton, you can't turn everything into Chuck E. Cheese.
You have to look at the Blackboard Connect, and you can see that they are directly geared toward agendas, the ones that I've looked at.
Okay.
Geared towards agendas, and they're posing questions about specific
Agenda items. I understand what you're saying. Okay. I understand what you're saying. Okay.
I do too. I stand corrected.
All right, again, this is just a resolution. The resolution could be published, and then we can change it as we go along. And if something comes up that it doesn't look like, or maybe we should go to 2 or 3 people to get an item on the agenda, that's fine. But I think one of the points is, feel free to come to me or the city manager anytime with a suggestion. And if I think it's way off base, I'll let you know right away. But more than likely, anybody that has a specific comment that they want to get agendized, I'm probably not going to say no. Okay, because you have a passion for it, you have a feeling for it, you have an issue with it, with that particular item. I don't think anybody would try to deny you that capability of getting it on the agenda, ever.
So maybe we change that edit to 3 council members put something on the agenda, but also maybe put in there, because these are rules and procedures. So I'm trying to think about other council members. When you get on council, you're kind of not really given anything. It's just, hey, welcome to council. You're here. So I'm trying to just think about future council members when they're like, okay, well, I'm here now, but like, how do I put things on the agenda? How do I do this? How do I do that? So maybe we add in that edit that, we can have a meeting with the city council, with the city manager or the mayor to put something up. I'm just trying to do this so that it's helping other people, not just specifically myself, but like when you join, you're handed the rules and procedures and you're like, oh, this is how I get things on the agenda as a new council member. Because when you join, I felt like you're just trial by fire. You're not telling me. So yeah, so I'm just my whole thing with pushing this and asking to have this on the agenda is I want to have set rules and procedures so that if you're a planner and you're like Ashton, when you get handed on city council, you know exactly what's expected of you and how to do your job to the best of its ability instead of just guessing what you're supposed to do. So
massage this language to say something like you said, to confer with the mayor or the city manager, and then I don't know how y'all feel. If you want it to be 3 council members or 4, I don't care.
Yeah.
Y'all decide. I know we have a bunch of ladies back here taking notes. We can possibly give them some very clear direction. That would be great.
So for number 8, so change the language to say but also are we all in agreement on 3 council members to put something on the agenda? Can we narrow it down to 3 instead of majority? Is everybody okay with that? Okay, so 3, got that, Maribel? 3 for that one. And then, okay, so that one, we talked about that. Go ahead.
I just want to, I'm trying to understand, why would we scratch out B? I don't understand scratching out item B.
if you did the A to one council member, then B would be irrelevant. But
So we need to add B back in.
Okay,
yes.
so keep
Okay.
B, okay.
And then on C, do we need to, well, I don't think the subject to approved by the mayor, I think we already clarified that.
Who wants to keep it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so remove C,
C.
remove C, green, yep.
I love D. I think that's fantastic. The council member who initiates it can.
Yes,
Oh,
definitely.
So keep D, okay.
I don't understand what E is.
E was kind of ours, it would be, you could make it, because sometimes we do get locked into that discussion box, but it seems like there's a consensus that you guys aren't for that, but sometimes we just get locked into that discussion only, and sometimes it's like, oh, I really wish we could just vote on this so we can move on. Instead of just bringing it back up for another discussion, sometimes. I was just thinking it makes it a little bit faster to just be like, let's just tell Ashton she's crazy and vote no and be done, instead of keeping it going. Is all I was trying to do, but
Okay.
it doesn't seem like that's necessarily consensus.
So are we talking about taking out E altogether? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys don't want to do E, that's fine. We can remove E. And then I think that's it on my edits. So what's left would be Councilmember Vaughn's and Buck's, but he is not here. So that would be 16. Wait, did I skip one?
Okay.
Can I ask a point of clarification?
Yes.
I apologize. On this rewrite for the agenda, I don't think it's specified before, but we are talking regular meeting agendas or regular and special meeting agendas.
It just says
Regular meeting, I
agendas.
believe.
It did.
Oh.
It just says agenda on it.
If y'all are good with that, I just wanted to bring that up, because that is something that when reading that, I was concerned that, because it also doesn't say next agenda or next meeting agenda. And so if it's just an agenda, just want to make sure that we're all in agreement that maybe that's part of that discussion of which agenda, because I know we've had conversations before where Cameron said, you know what, the next agenda is full. We've already got 19 items on it, and be here till 10 p.m. So just want to make sure that if you guys have that, you do have that flexibility, it is not crystal clear. Just want to make sure you can make it more clear.
So I know in the past when there has been requests by council, you've gotten them all in there, and I can understand 4 of you where you had an item on there, said, hey, this is a really big agenda. I personally would never move a council member's item without their consent. From one agenda to the next.
Right, but as far as getting it, we say any council member, on the agenda during the council member comments. So we're talking about, that means the next.
Yeah.
Right, but,
Maybe we should change it to on a future agenda. Is that what you're asking or clarifying?
But we have language too where it says that the city manager will ask and to postpone.
Yep.
And ask to postpone. If you say future, then that could be 6 months from now.
That's true. Cool.
well, you could also do a reasonable test in a reasonable amount of time. If it says reasonable amount of time, then I think recently somebody had asked for something to be put on, and I had indicated, they said, oh, well then, within the next 3 or 4 meetings. So when you make the request, the council member can give an indication of the urgency of it.
Maybe we could put it a future agenda with a discussion between the city manager and the council member making the suggestion or something. You know what I mean? Like that they work out the timing of that.
Because some things might take a lot of staff research, and some things might not take any, and we can take it on right away. That's why I'd say maybe it's a reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've had a pretty farewell discussion. Mr. Vaughn, you had some items. Did you want to clarify anything that we haven't discussed already?
Oh, you're looking at me.
Yeah.
You want 16.
I think you said Paul, so I was confused.
No, I said Mr. Vaughn.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
sorry. Well, I mean, I guess there's very little edits after the 8. Did we give enough direction for 8, 9 to whatever the one is? Does anybody have any problems with the other?
So 16.
As we go further.
So 16 is his, and
It's basically just repeating like 16.3. The new 16.3 is just saying the same thing that the mayor will call on. Which was already.
Stay 16. Oh.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. So it was already brought up because of 8D. I got you. Okay, so they're basically saying the same exact thing, so that should be fine. But I don't think there's anything else unless you've got.
Has the last thing about the mayor has the responsibility of limiting citizens to be heard to 30 minutes.
Is it supposed to be 30 or 3?
No, the total time to set aside for citizens to be heard, it's 33 minutes per person. I should have the ability to cut it off at 30 minutes if there's not a specific item that is the main topic for the evening.
That is completely different than a public hearing. On a public hearing, there is no time.
Yeah, public hearings are completely different.
Under the citizens to be heard, they're bringing up items that are not on the agenda. So it is basically limited to 30 minutes.
They could be on the agenda if it's not an open public hearing. Like, for example, if somebody really felt, somebody felt, oh, this isn't a public hearing?
No, this is not a public hearing.
This is under citizens
Right.
to be heard.
To be heard at the very top.
Right, so if we really screwed something up and there's 100 people out there that want to yell at us, I think we should allow them. I mean, I think we should have to sit here and take it.
I'm sorry, you weren't on this. May I jump in? I'm so sorry, I jumped in. I apologize.
We're getting a little bit out of order here, gang. Just interacting with each other. So let's try to get back on track.
Yeah, sorry, I'll be quiet.
Everybody's had some comments. I asked Mr. Vaughn if he had anything else you want to specifically
Just
cover.
33 and whatever people's thoughts are on that. Thank you.
33 is actually wording from another ordinance that I carried through. And as you can see, it says in there that the presiding officer, that being the mayor or the mayor pro tem, they can adjust that time if they want. Or they can even say to the city council, hey, it's been 30 minutes and we still have 5 more people. Do you mind if we go ahead and let them speak? There's still flexibility already built into it.
Yeah.
We have never had a citizen's be heard that has lasted 30 minutes. We've had public hearings that have lasted an hour and a half with citizens to be heard. This is two completely different things. This is about something that is not on the agenda. Hey, I got my water cut off, or hey, I got something I got a ticket because my grass was too high. That's this portion.
Now, that doesn't mean a citizen can't say, I've looked at the agenda and I have a comment about a specific item. They certainly still do that. Or not,
Right. And on the new agenda, and it's not on there now because we didn't have any public hearings, but right after citizens to be heard, we would have all the public hearings at the top of the agenda. So citizens to be heard, however many people, 30 minutes, and then it will be public hearing, public hearing, public hearing, public hearing. So they don't even have to stay all night long. If they want, they can speak within the first half hour of the agenda and be out here.
I think I might edit, but.
Okay.
Yeah, I like having at least the ability to stop it at some point, because there's sometimes that council members will just ramble, and I wish they had. Just kidding. As I'm rambling. So I like having that deadline, that hard stop, but with the flexibility of saying, let's keep going, guys. We screwed up royally. We need to go ahead and do that. And with multiple people having that ability to do that, it's not like it's in one person's control. It's not. So I feel like having that out there is a great piece, because when we had a request of the city to change zoning for a building that had massive uproar, and not just in Universal City, but in the surrounding communities. And they came to us, mad at us for allowing us. We're not, it's a request, but there was just so long that we had to sit and be berated for allowing this, which it hadn't even come up to us yet. So I like the fact that there's teeth. I do want to go back. We jumped down. Dang it, Ashton, where was I? I don't remember. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm done.
Why don't I suggest that we have a motion and can finish up discussion, and then when the resolution is adopted, we can take another look at it, and is there something we would like to see changed? Because I think that you all seem to be fairly confident that this is going to work, and I understand exactly what you said in this moment, that we need something that helps anybody, and especially council members who are new, rather than just come out here and say, hi, here you are. Oh, by the way, this is what we're going to do. Okay, I can understand exactly your frustration. I think we all had it at one time or another. So, Mr. Major.
Yeah, before we do that, and everybody, I apologize in advance, but this is something that came to my attention after the deadline. And I just want to, this is on the very last, on Rule 32, Citizens to be Heard, which we are on now. As it's read after where it says must be limited to 300 words. Right after that, it says all written comments will be presented during Citizens to be Heard through a recap provided by the presiding officer. These are submissions that are written submissions that they're actually not here, but have written, which we really haven't had that happen. But I can see as things move on, we get more public, and other cities have had this problem, where now the presiding officer would have to read these out that were sent in. In order to read these, you can't edit them to what you want. You would have to read it in full. It's a comment. We have no control over the type of wording that would be on there, or exactly how long it would be, or what it would be. And also, if it's Citizens to be Heard, I would like them to be here in person, but at the same time, knowing that they can't, maybe they can give it to somebody else, but they have to write it in. I would like to change this, instead of having you to have to read them or the presiding officer, to change it to this. And just bear with me where it says all written comments will be presented with copies to mayor, council, and city manager, and to be put into the public record, which means they're not going to be read out, but they would be put in to the public record to show that they were presented. Does that make sense?
Well, I think it makes sense. However, I think the objective here was to allow people that could not attend a special meeting, a council meeting, to provide some input that we would share. But we have to, again, the caution is, we only allow citizens 3 minutes. And so whatever that submission is, whatever numbers you want to pick, I think it's only fair that it be on the same level. And whether I read it or Kim reads it, or I think it should probably not be either one of us. It should probably be the city clerk that reads those on behalf of the
We got
inputs.
some feedback on this one, actually from 2 other cities that have this in there, and they're getting ready to remove it, because they said what happens is people will send things in an email that they would not say in person, and whoever is reading that has to speak their words, and it can be quite embarrassing. And the other thing is that they have found that people say, I'm not going to go, I'll just send an email and it'll be read out loud. And then what they find is that they are spending 45 minutes to an hour reading just the emails that came in. So what Mr. Nigerian is suggesting is what a couple of the other cities are going to, only because it adds more time into the agenda, and it makes somebody else say the words of another person that they probably themselves might not say if they were here in person.
Yes, Ms. Willis.
It does say recap. It doesn't say that you'll read it, though. It says presented during Citizens to be Heard through a recap provided by the presiding officer. So you could summarize and say we received these 5 and the gist of the messages were this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That would be the easiest way, to be honest with you. For sure.
So here's my concern from recent experience is, nothing restricts these comments to come from your citizens. And there is a lot of groups who are submitting comments to cities that have absolutely nothing to do with the agenda. They don't live in your community. They're about topics that you would not want most people to be discussing at your council meeting. And staff or the mayor is being forced to read these or recap these. And the concern is going to be if you're going to recap, you got to recap consistently. And that is hard to do with these types of comments. They're not required by law to be allowed. It's just a whole lot cleaner if citizen comments are made in person.
Okay, Ms. Bowman.
I just have one question. What happens if you're like legitimately handicapped? Like if you are someone who's 80-some years old and on oxygen and truly wholeheartedly cannot get here, but you wanted, is there just like a little bit of protection for someone who is truly, I mean, I know anyone could say that though, and so I understand that's like a double-edged sword, but what about if it's like an extenuating circumstances?
Everybody an email, right?
To council, okay.
Yeah, to council and to staff.
That's true.
And when you are in your announcements or
That's true.
something, you can just say, hey, I heard somebody had mentioned this to me, and I just wanted to know that they had sent this to us, and, you know, for the record, I'm repeating what they say. But that's at your discretion, right? 'Cause
yeah.
some of them you might not want to read out loud.
Okay, that's true. That's fair.
I'll leave it up to you.
Good points. It opens up a bucket of worms. It's really what it does. It really does. And I don't disagree with people having the ability to make some comments that cannot physically attend the meetings, but it could get really, really, really out of hand. That's the last thing we want to have happen. I think.
Like I said, we haven't had problems with this as of yet, but I can see this coming down to.
It's never been offered.
Yeah.
It's never been offered. So if we're going to offer it, we got to make sure that we've got some good caveats built in there. My personal thing is I'd like to see it happen, but I don't know how we can do it and control the outcome in terms of timing. And for me to read it or somebody else to read it, if we do adopt this and capsulize it and allow me, if I'm going to do it, to just say, we got this in from certain citizen, I would like to say that it should be a person from Universal City, period. But I can't do that either. So I would be willing to take something that was submitted and just make it and summarize a comment. We got this from the citizen, but is that really what we want to do? I'm not sure.
I think with that, let's just scratch it for right now and not add in the written possibility. Leave it as it currently exists where they can still email council. We can comment on it if we choose to, but they still have the ability to communicate with council and staff. But not an official way to
That would make it a whole lot simpler for us, definitely.
Yep.
Definitely. Okay. All right, this is actually a resolution item, and if we want to go ahead and consider pulling that particular thing out completely. Ms. Bowman has her comments, and I think we've already
Is there a way to to get a new one back? And so, I'm so sorry, but is there a way, because and then vote, because it's kind of hard to, or just do it with new edits, or how would I do that motion? Just so.
Well.
And send it out, clean it up, send it out to all of you, and then have it on the next agenda as a consent item. And if you want to pull it and change something on it, we can do it at the next meeting.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Everybody okay with that? Okay.
So we don't need to take any action at all on this tab then? No, we do. At all?
Table to the next meeting.
Or we're just, proceed with, approved with edits.
Yep.
Okay.
So the motion would be to approve the resolution with edits that will be presented at the next council meeting. Right? Right. All right, I need that motion.
Move to approve with the discussed edits.
Okay. That's a motion and second by Councilmember Bowman. All right. All right, I think we've had enough discussion, so let's call for the vote then, please.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Bowman?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Goldstein?
Aye.
Councilmember Najarian?
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughn?
Aye.
All right, that's our last tab, so that concludes our meeting this evening. And unless there's any other specific comments for the good of the world, we are now adjourned.
I said 9 o'clock. I called it. I said it. 9 o'clock. That was my goal. I want to go eat. Oh, man.
man, I've already put up my Halloween